Hello everyone, today I will share with you the principles of portal quick authentication technology and related precautions for the configuration. In fact, portal technology has been widely used in our daily lives. After everyone connects to Wi-Fi in public places such as airports, train stations, coffee shops, etc., it may let you enter username and password, or let you enter your phone number for SMS verification. Yes, that's the portal. Then you may ask me, what are the benefits of portal? Portal authentication is also called. There are two major features. The first is no client, and client-free software is very big advantage and basic requirement. The second point is the new business carrier. Using the portal function for portal authentication, operation can put advertising, information query, online shopping, and other service on the portal websites. User can force them to see the above information when they are online. Portal authentication is certainly convenient, but if users have frequent access needs, then there will be a situation where the page authentication needs to be repopped every time it's accessed. In this situation, the old portal efficiency is very low. Therefore, the portal quick authentication technology is produced. In the portal authentication environment, for users who need to access the network frequently, the MAC address-based quick authentication function can enable user to automatically complete the authentication without manually inputting information, and the user is not aware of the entire authentication process. After briefly introducing the advantages and the functions of Quick Portal, let's look at the Portal Quick Authentication process. The typical networking is shown in the figure. Compared with the common portal networking, we need to pay attention to the fact that the server here adds a MAC server to bind the MAC address of the terminal that has passed the authentication. The MAC server is used to record the user's portal authentication information and relevant MAC address of the user terminal, and bind them to complete the portal authentication. When the user logs in for the first time, the terminal first sends an HTTP message to the access device to request access to the external network. After receiving this message request, the access device will first provide a portion of free traffic for the user terminal. This part of free traffic does not require authentication. After the user's free traffic is used up, the access device will actively send a MAC address query message to the MAC server. If the MAC address has not been bound, the MAC server will reply an ACK message for the user to authenticate for the first time to the access device, and at the same time establish the MAC information table entry of the user terminal. At this time, the access device has learned that the user terminal is logging in for the first time. So, consistent with the normal portal process, the access device first sends the authentication page to the user, which is the authentication page we saw before. After the user enters the relevant authentication information, the access device starts a process of authentication interaction with the server. If the authentication is passed, the MAC server will save the user terminal information, otherwise it will be deleted. At this point, the user can start to surf the internet successfully, and the MAC address has been bound. When portal users access again, it will perform quick authentication. When the user logs in for the second time and goes online, after the free traffic is used up, the same access device must first send this MAC address query message to the MAC server to ask whether the terminal is bound with the MAC address. The ACK message returned by the server will be different from the previous one. If the error code field is 0, it will mean that the user's MAC address has been bound. It triggers our portal quick authentication process. The user normally accesses the network, and at the same time, the access device and the server exchange authentication information. Here are the configuration ideas and precautions. Here we take the SR88 device as the access device and the networking combined with the AMC platform as an example. It should be noted that before the portal configuration, the IP address of each interface must be configured according to the networking. At the same time, the route between the user terminal, the access device, and the server needs to be reachable. There are 5 configuration steps in total. Step 1. Configure the reduce scheme. Step 2. Configure the relevant domain. Step 3. Configure related parameters such as the portal authentication server. Step 4. Configure the interface between the terminal and the browse device. The last step is to save the configuration and perform portal quick authentication. After ensuring that the route between the terminal, the access device, and the server is reachable, we then perform the following configuration. To configure the reduce scheme, configure the reduce server address, and set the main authentication and the main accounting server and its communication password at the same time. The username sent to the reduce server must not carry the ISP domain name. We then enable the reduce session control function, and it's recommended to specify the source address of the reduce packet sent by the device through NAS IP to avoid authentication failure. Due to the inconsistency between the source address selected by the device and the access device IP specified on the server, when the source address is not specified. Next, configure the authentication domain. Create and enter the ISP domain named 1. Configure the AAA authentication method of the ISP domain, and configure the default ISP domain of the system as 1, so that all access users' devices will share the authentication and accounting methods of this default domain. Next, we enter the portal authentication part. Be sure to set the URL of the portal web server first. Here we are just for example, you must make relevant configurations according to the on-site networking. Next, we configure the portal authentication server, name it 1 and modify the IP address and the key in plain text. Then we create a MAC trigger server name and configure the user authentication free traffic threshold. This threshold can be set by yourself. Here is just an example. Step 4. Configure the interconnection interface with the end user. Here is the interface 334. First, we need to enable portal direct authentication on the interface and reference portal web server and MAC trigger server, and then configure the base IP to 2221. Note here that because portal is a message request initiated by the access device, base IP must be configured on the device and be consistent with the address known to the server. The last step, save the configuration and perform portal access. In the first authentication, the user needs to enter the account password. After the authentication is successful, MAC server will ban the user's MAC address after the user goes online. Here we can check the corresponding information through the command display portal MAC trigger server. When logging in for the second time, users can go online without entering the username and password. Now, let's review some important parts of the Intel configuration. First, we must first ensure the routing and the inter-communication between the user terminals, access devices, and the corresponding service. Otherwise, the steps of pushing the authentication page will go wrong. Second, ensure that the basic portal configuration is correct. The portal configuration such as web server and IP addresses. Third, the base IP must be configured and consistent with the server side. Otherwise, the authentication process will fail. Fourth, the authentication free rule traffic must be configured according to actual needs. This can be based on specific requirements. If the customer does not want free traffic, we can just configure it to 0 directly. Thanks.